Hello everybody and welcome to Car Confections and welcome to part 2 of our review of this all-new 2024 Buick Envista. In this part, as you can see, we're behind the wheel of this Buick Envista to show you guys all the nitty-gritty details about how this vehicle rides, what the engine is like, all of the good stuff. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up now.
There's our acceleration up to 60 miles per hour on a pretty flat stretch of road there. I don't know if you could hear it at all, but you know, we really took off pretty fast. That torque really hits when it comes to this powertrain. It's a torque rich, as we were speaking with the spec dump in the previous part of the video, a 1.2 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. So, you know, I think for a lot of people, you're gonna hear those numbers and you're gonna think, wow, that is like a small displacement.
It is.
It must be very, very, you know, weak. And honestly, when you're behind the wheel, it just doesn't feel like that. So, this is, of course, related to the Chevy Trax, and we drove that one extensively as well in both these models.
Yeah. I mean,
it's kind of surprising, you know, once
speaking
you
of the Trax, there's a Trax right there.
We could do a drag race.
But yeah, we drove the Trax extensively in North Carolina. Now we're behind the wheel of the Envista, and certainly this engine impresses us. You know, it was one of those things we really didn't know what to expect. I'm sure you guys, as a viewer of the channel, don't know what to expect out of a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder. It seems like it wouldn't have that much horsepower. It would be a weak engine, and really, it's pretty impressive. 137 horsepower, 162 pound-feet of torque on that motor. The torque is really what you notice the most. 162 pound-feet of torque in this segment of vehicle is really, really good, guys. And it's actually enough to chirp the tires if you fully floor it. We had a lot of fun actually in the Trax doing that. If you turn the traction control off, you can really burn the rubber because there's just a lot of torque, and that's really a good thing in a vehicle like this because you take off with a lot of pep. It feels very spunky when you take off, and you know, of course, the power fades off once you get to 4,500, 5,000 RPM. It's not going to go like super fast. Obviously, it's only 137 horsepower, but the torque makes it feel like a lot more than that at the beginning.
Right, when you're driving like a normal civilized being, you're probably not going to be flooring it to the ground every time you take off from a stoplight, and that's where it really, in particular, feels nice and strong.
There goes the front tires.
Yeah, just a little bit of loss of traction when you're taking off there. And that pretty much brings us to a couple major points about the powertrain we need to discuss now. So, lack of traction from the front wheels. That tells you that this is a front-wheel drive vehicle, and that's one of the important things to consider when you're thinking about buying an Envista, is this is front-wheel drive only. Just like with the Chevy Trax, it's just front-wheel drive. If you want an all-wheel drive vehicle, Buick sells a sibling to this model. It's not as stylish as the Envista, but the Encore GX does have a little bit more space and offers all-wheel drive. So that's going to be, you know, something for you to consider if you're shopping for one of these vehicles. Is, do you really need all-wheel drive? Because if you do, then the Encore is going to be the best bet for you versus this Envista. Now, there's also another important difference, and that's going to be in the transmission. So you've seen that we are shifting. We're shifting through traditional gears because this is a 6-speed automatic transmission. and its sibling, the Encore GX. That model has either a CVT or a 9-speed automatic. So this is a totally separate transmission from that model. And I think this is a pretty good transmission. Most of the rivals in the segment are going to be rocking CVTs exclusively. So instead of having that droney sensation that many of the vehicles in this class have, you've got that traditional gear swap. It's also a good and responsive transmission, even though it has 6 gears is a little low these days. When you put your foot down, you don't wait very long to get a response. And yeah, overall, I'm satisfied with it.
Yeah, I think it's a good mate with the, the torque ridge motor of this 1.2 liter. And guys, we're up here in Michigan, and good lordy,
you could probably tell from this road we're on.
If you work in Michigan in the road department, you need to get up here and fix whatever road we are on right now, because this is rough. But let's talk about the ride quality, because this is a great example.
What better place to talk about ride quality?
A great example of what the worst possible conditions could be. Overall, I've been very happy with the ride quality. We've been driving this Envista. We've already been in it about 2 hours this morning. We did a highway stretch. We did this really crappy road stretch, and then now we're kind of getting a little bit more on the smoother side of things. The ride quality is really good. First of all, on a highway, it really does a phenomenal job of soaking up any bumps that you get. I will say it's a little bit firmer than what I felt like the Encore GX was like when we drove that yesterday, so it has a little bit of a sportier edge to it, but that's not to say the ride quality is bad. This is still a Buick after all. It does have a very good ride quality, and that road back there was a perfect example of the world's roughest road, and I wasn't incredibly uncomfortable. The seats do a good job of helping absorb any impacts that make it into the cabin, and even with the larger wheels that we have on this Sport Touring model, I didn't feel like it was incredible amounts of intrusion making it in. And now we will go ahead and do our Car Confections signature sound level reading, going 55 miles an hour. We find a nice smooth road to do it on. We've settled in at an official reading of 58.3 decibels, which is a very good sound level reading. And what am I going to do? I'm going to get on carconfections.com to see all of the vehicles in the subcompact segment and see their sound level readings, because we do have that conveniently on our website. So if you haven't checked out our website already, please go ahead and do that. We have all of the categories of vehicle. We review hundreds, if not thousands, of cars. So we have a lot of readings for you to look through. So go ahead and do that. But as far as how this lands in the segment, that places it as one of the upper end things in the segment. It's in the top 5 options. So certainly a good choice with this Buick Envista. They've done a lot to keep a lot of the outside noise from entering into this cabin. They talked a lot about that in the presentation. Obviously, Buick is a brand that has a premium edge to it, and they're looking to add that with the Envista.
Right, this category of vehicle tends to be very loud. This does have Buick quiet tuning, so you have that little bit of noise canceling inside of the cabin as well. Now, as we're going around some corners here, I want to talk a little bit about your handling. This is actually a pretty good handling vehicle.
Yeah.
They've done a spiffy job, like Mason was saying. With this vehicle, they're really targeting this younger buyer that wants something a little bit more agile and athletic. And I think they've done a good job of kind of matching that expectation that the exterior design gives you when you get behind the wheel. Compared to its sibling, the Chevy Trax, this is a little bit softer than that, and I think that's what helps it to have better ride quality.
Yeah.
So we were just discussing between those two models, they're pretty similar priced if you're maybe cross-shopping the two of them in the future. This one's going to be a little bit softer, so you're going to have a little bit more body roll as you go around corners and stuff like that, but I think that's the right trade-off to make because it does have better ride quality when you're going over the bumps and you're out on the freeway. Of course, Buick, you're going to have a little bit higher expectations, right, of that ride quality, so it makes sense to make that trade-off.
Now, another thing I do want to point out is that we're in a sport touring model right now that has the option of getting a standard Watts Link suspension on the Avenir. So you can actually option that on for the sport touring model, or it is standard on that fully loaded Avenir model, which could improve your ride quality a little bit, make it even more comfortable and better. Additionally, I do want to talk about the fuel economy. We're sitting at a GM estimated 28, 32, 30 miles a gallon combined. For the Envista, of course, there is just one engine. There's also just one drive option, front wheel drive only, so 30 mpg combined is your rating for all of the models, which is a very good fuel economy figure. It's worth noting though, no hybrid or anything like that is offered on this model. All right, and let's do one of our other elements, our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball. Drew, what's the Slam Dunk today?
I think the Slam Dunk has got to be just the overall packaging of this model. Like we mentioned, this really is targeting and appealing to a young buyer, and they've really nailed the packaging, because we have, I think, the things that are the most important to a young buyer on board with this. This is a legitimately stylish model. You have legitimately good technology inside the cabin, and then you have a legitimately excellent price tag. That's a great package overall, if you ask me.
Yeah, and as far as the Airball is concerned, I will say, although it doesn't bother me a lot of people are going to really want all-wheel drive. And yes, Buick offers the Encore GX for those of you wanting all-wheel drive, but it's not as stylish of a package as this Envista. So I really wish they had just offered all-wheel drive for those of you who really want all-wheel drive, so you could get the stylish option with all-wheel drive, instead of going for another model that is more expensive than this and not as stylish. And I do want to talk about the pricing of this Envista. $23,495 is your base price, and that includes destination. If you go for the Sport Touring, $25,195, and Avenir is $26,695. So incredibly good pricing here. That does include destination, as I mentioned before, and really fully loaded up. I believe they said it is about $31,000 fully loaded with all the options on an Avenir model, which is a very incredibly good price point, guys. Especially, like we mentioned, this is targeting younger customers. Younger customers need that affordable price tag, and Buick is giving it here, which I'm very happy about.
Right. We'll put this up on the screen, but Buick's presentation actually, was talking about the percentage of cars that are actually at an affordable price tag these days versus a few years ago, and it is so much smaller than it was a few years ago. So it's very refreshing to see some legitimately affordable vehicles be added to the market again, because it is a blind spot, I think. Not everyone can afford just to have cars get more and more expensive infinitely, and it's especially nice because this it's not a penalty box, you do have all these compelling elements paired with the affordable price tag.
And lastly, the warranty on the Envista is going to be Buick's signature warranty, which is 3-year, 36,000 miles basic, 5-year, 60,000 miles powertrain. You do also get one complimentary service visit. But guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this part 2 of our Buick Envista review. If you want to check out part 1, that has all the nitty-gritty details about this vehicle. We're going to do an exterior walk around, an interior tour, talk about all the technology, the specs, how it compares to some of the rivals. You won't want to miss that. Go to part 1, check that out, learn all about this Buick Envista, and if you're not already a subscriber, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you get us invited to events like this where we can sample out some of the newest cars first, so you really play a pivotal role in the vehicles that we have access to review on the channel. If you're already a loyal subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, because you do make this all possible. And please check out our all-new website. Additionally, we have an Instagram and TikTok page, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.